Well, hi everyone, and greetings from Northern Michigan. This is Bob the Science Guy. Today we have our fourth episode of Make Tartaria Great Again, Tartaria Tuesday. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about this gentleman. This is Mr. Max Ingham. He is the man that we've been listening to tell the story of Tartaria. Now, Max runs this conspiratorial website called thecrowhouse.com. It's, shall we say, interesting reading. I'd suggest you stop by and have a quick look at it. So today what I thought I would do is we would listen to Max just talk about his philosophy of life a little bit, learn a little bit of insight into the man, maybe have a look at his website. So pop some corn, put on your tinfoil hats, and it's another day at the office.
And really looking at all this, folks, looking at these foundlings and this whole information about the mud flood that's come out, all the information that's been surfacing lately, it really causes me to question everything.
Well, just to recap a few of the things that Max is talking about, the movement of the orphans and foundlings was a well-known social program that was popular in the late 19th century and early 20th century. Basically, they took inner-city orphans, put them out in the fresh air, hard work, and good Christian families of the West, hoping that they'd make something of themselves. He then went on to talk about this Tartarian civilization that was basically abandoned. And when people got to Australia, they found these enormous cities and all this technology waiting for them. We've gone through the history books and looked and found the oldest buildings in all the Australian states. They clearly are rather simple structures. And finally, we went over the mysteries of fireplaces. You know, Max, if you really have all these questions about things, this is the Sydney Public Library. They seem relatively well stocked. Why don't you get a library card?
Question everything that I thought I knew about history. And I've spent a lot of time in my life looking into history. It's always been a fascination for me because of all these artifacts lying all over the world, all this weird stuff lying everywhere. You kind of find out about it when you're young and you want to know where it all comes from and what really happened.
Well, Max, I think our curiosity is what makes humans human. Sure, there are things that we don't understand. Sometimes we find the answer by blind luck. We dug up the Rosetta Stone and deciphered hieroglyphics. Sometimes we actively look for the answers, like the LIGO interferometer, looking for gravitational waves. But sometimes it's just some guy with bad hair trying to imagine what it would be like to ride on a beam of light.
All I had to go on for many years was books from academia, books from libraries. I mean, you could go to places and see things, but then you try to research them. All you've really got to go on is local legends and what the books tell you.
You know, Max, one common complaint in conspiracy theorists is that they have to rely on other people. It's not true. You're just lazy. These are the muster books for the American Civil War. My great-great-great-grandfather, Thomas Dorgan, appears in these books in Allegan County in 1862. I've seen it myself. My DNA says that I have a significant amount of French blood in me. My father has our family traced all the way back through the Battle of Hastings in 1066. Wonder where the French blood came from. So, you don't have to rely on people that devote their entire lives to studying the mating habits of fruit flies if you want to learn about fruit flies. You can actually go look yourself. You can look at the primary source material. But you would rather put out this nonsense about conspiracies. You know, the other thing that really bothers me about conspiracy theorists is it takes 5 minutes to find out the correct answer. This is what an andiron is. You can find a fireback the same way. They're very simple devices, and once you see what they were built for, their design is rather obvious. But instead of doing this, people like Max would rather make up these things about energy beams and radiant heats and advanced technologies just to sit down and feel special somehow. Well, you're not special. I said it before and I'll say it again. You're lazy.
More information surfacing now, and the whole idea of these foundlings, these massive amounts of children being shipped all around the world and being used to run cleanup operations after the mud flood.
You know, Max, you're a pretty good storyteller. But if you want your stories to be believed, you have to apply a little bit of critical thinking to them. Now, I've got 3 questions that I'd like you to maybe make a response to. First of all, where did all this mud come from? And how did it simultaneously hit Europe, North America, and Australia, even though there are oceans in between them? Okay. Number 2, you say that there were these abandoned cities that we literally just moved into. Where are they? Do you have any designs of them? Do you have any paintings or photographs that you can present? Because for every building that you have put up so far, you know, the Ponce de Leon Hotel in St. Augustine, for example, I can pull up blueprints and show where it was designed and built. That wasn't there from a Tartarian society. And third, you say that all these children were moved out to clean up the cities after the mud flood. Okay, great. We have photographs of the children on the train. Where are the photographs of the children shoveling out mud?
You've got to question this, folks. You've really got to look at what happened and where our civilizations came from. And like I said, it causes me to question everything. All of the wars, all of the formation of society as we know it that we've been given anyway. The Napoleonic Wars, World War I, World War II, all of these things, I question all of them now. I don't think any of them have been fought under the pretexts that we've been told. I think all of them are actually all related and are all part of the destruction of this ancient culture, this ancient civilization.
You know, Max, I know a little bit about military history. You know, and I've learned some lessons. You never fight the Russians in the winter. The Chinese are really patient. As for the Americans, mostly decent folks. Piss us off, though, we will cross a frozen river in the middle of the night and kill you in your bed on Christmas morning. But if you're serious and want to do your own research, I suggest that you use that new library card. Go down to the library and get this book, The Guns of August by Barbara Tuchman. If you want to learn about what led up to World War I, this is your book. And I don't think that there is a single energy beam fireplace or Tartarian empire in it.
And I think it's still ongoing. I think that the war in Syria, the destruction of Aleppo, the war in Yemen, this is all about destroying the infrastructure, destroying the buildings, destroying every trace of the past, any trace of anything that would suggest the existence of Tartaria, of Atlantis, of this lost culture, this lost civilization.
No, Max. They've been fighting in the Middle East forever. Look at this. It goes back to the Bronze Age. We're not even up to the current state of events.
And the feeling I had when I was a child, why I was so appalled and so disoriented by the fact that people had to pay to be alive and we had to buy land.
Welcome to capitalism and society. Hey Max, how many capitalists does it take to screw in a light bulb? None. The invisible hand of the market does it for them.
Why I felt quite literally that some terrible mistake had been made and I'd been born into the wrong reality. It makes me question where my mother really came from. My mother and her 4 sisters, 5 daughters that were just suddenly in Tasmania, living out on this property. How did they get there? Were they really born there? My mother remembers her mother was very young and died very early, and she had quite a strict father who married another young woman. But I really begin to question all of it. I really begin to question what my roots are, what my family ties are, what my family tree really is.
Hey Max, you might want to start here. I did mine. It was actually pretty easy.
Because really when you begin to look at the bigger picture of all this, folks, you begin to see that the war for Tartaria was the major battle of this earth, and it's still ongoing. It would appear that Hitler attempted to make a last stand for Tartaria.
Oh, hell no, Max.
This is why he was using the swastika. And the swastika is a very ancient symbol, folks. A great video that was actually put out by New Earth the other day, where she went through the use of the swastika in Western cultures. We find that the swastika was very much used in America, was used in Australia, was used everywhere. It's a very powerful, very potent symbol and a very positive symbol, and suddenly it was turned around and presented to the world as being this hateful symbol of fascism.
Now, Max has actually got a point with this. The swastika was used as a sign of divinity in Hindu religions. However, it would also not be the first time that a politician or a movement commandeered a symbol and turned it to their own purposes. And those purposes, in the case of Hitler, were very evil.
We're giving our attention to now things like peace signs. And what's the peace sign? The peace sign is the Druidic death rune.
Well, if you want, there are the death signs right there. There is one that bears a passing resemblance to part of the peace sign. But if you actually look up the history of the peace sign itself, it's semaphore. It's the combination of the symbols for N and D for nuclear disarmament. And then the circle around it has to do with the Earth.
And here's us worrying about all these wars, giving all our attention to this peace sign and wondering why so many people are dying when we're sitting here worshipping the death rune. Yeah, this sort of stuff is what's been done to us, folks. The swastika is actually a very positive symbol from the past, representing abundance and giving and all sorts of good things. You've got to wonder why it's been vilified. Well, I guess not. You can understand why it's been vilified so dramatically and so effectively, why everybody now sees it as a symbol of fascism and a symbol of hate when really it's a symbol of freedom.
Hey, Max, when you get that library card, you might want to look at this book too.
And no, I don't think Hitler was a great guy, and I don't think that we should all become Nazis. I mean, this isn't what it's all about, folks, but I don't even believe the stories of the Nazis, and I certainly don't believe the stories of the Holocaust at all, because there's no evidence to support it, and I don't care what anybody thinks about me saying that.
Well, what a relief it is to know that you don't care, because, quite frankly, Holocaust deniers are about the lowest form of vermin that crawls or slithers on this planet. Now, if you weren't more interested in wanting conspiracies and telling t-shirts, you are willfully ignorant. And that is laziness on your part, Max. So, that's about all I have to say about this gentleman right now. We're going to continue with the Tartaria story. And pretty soon we're going to find out where they think the mud came from. So, make sure you tune in for that. From Northern Michigan, this is Bob the Science Guy signing out. Make sure you hit the little like and subscribe down there in the lower right corner. And I look forward to seeing you again. Take care, guys.